The main topic for week number 3 is functions, and because functions are obviously a really big deal, I think as far as practice exercises go, we should start off by asking my new colleague for some exercises involving functions. So this week, in my C programming course, I learned about functions. Can you generate 3 programming exercises involving functions? We'll see what it comes up with. All right, so exercise number 1, factorial calculator. Write a program that calculates the factorial of a given positive integer using a function. The function should take an integer as input and return its factorial. So a couple of observations I'm going to make. If you've been watching the previous sets of exercises, you'll remember that we actually did this computing the factorial already as a loop exercise. But I think we can do it again as a function exercise. It might be a nice way to ease into it. One other observation I'll make is that unlike a lot of the exercises we've been doing in class and the kind of thing you tend to see on a midterm, this doesn't really provide a rigorous specification of the function. It just says the function should take an integer as input and return its factorial. But hopefully you can see what it means. So we're probably going to take one integer parameter and then return, I presume, an integer value. Okay, exercise number 2. Palindrome checker. Now this is a classic exercise, but I think we're going to have a problem with it. Create a program that checks if a given string, so I don't know what a string is yet. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to implement exercise 2 knowing what we know as of week 3. Okay, we'll look at exercise 3. Write a program that generates and prints a list of prime numbers up to a specified limit. Create a function that checks whether a given number is prime and use this function to generate the list of prime numbers. Now, I think I know what this means. So the idea here is that numbers can either be prime or composite, and when I go to record that exercise, I will give a better explanation of what that means. What we'll do if we want to generate and print out a list of prime numbers, one easy way I think of doing that is let's just loop over all the numbers from, let's say, 1 up to 100. And then for each number, I want to ask the question, is this number prime? And then if it is, I'll print it out. So, well, wait, how do I ask that question? How do I know if a number is prime? Well, it's suggesting that I create a function that checks whether the number is prime or not and use that function to generate this list. Okay, that makes sense to me. I think we can do that. Now, the problem is, before I go forward, exercise number 2 is going to be an issue. So we don't yet know what a string is in C. And it turns out that a string, which is referring to a sequence of characters, so text, is actually surprisingly complicated. It's the kind of thing we're going to get to probably in late October, so after midterm 1. And so I don't really want to dive into this right now, although I really appreciate this exercise. It would be a great string exercise when the time comes. So what I'm going to ask it to do is give me a replacement. I don't know about strings yet. Can you regenerate exercise 2? Maybe regenerate sounds a bit technical. Can you give me a different exercise 2? I'm trying to keep it casual. All right, okay, it's going to do the thing where it gives me too much information. Exercise number 2, my replacement exercise number 2. Write a program that calculates the result of raising a number to a given power using a function. The program should take 2 integers as input, the base and the exponent. Implement a function that calculates the result of raising the base to the exponent and returns the result. For example, now it seems to be designing the exercise around taking user input. You can see here it wants us to ask the user, enter the base, enter the exponent. I'm not going to do that. I could ask it to give me another replacement exercise that doesn't use user input, but I think it's pretty clear what we do instead. We'll just have the base and exponent be stored in variables in main. Now, this exercise, frankly, is really familiar, but I said I was going to do the exercises that ChatGPT gave me, so I guess I'll do it, even though we by now I think have seen this one in class. Okay, so I'll make separate videos for computing factorials with a function, for computing powers using a function, and then for computing lists of prime numbers.